Thank you for joining us on another episode of News from the Heart. I am Heather George, and I'm hosting a talk this morning with Swami Chetanananda. And we thought, Swamiji, it was a good time, literally, to talk about the effects and relationship that the planets have on what's going on in the world.
Well, it's a really interesting year. Just today, Mars and Saturn have been conjunct for about 3 weeks. Mars and Saturn are enemy planets in that Saturn is a slowest moving, coldest planet in the Vedic zodiac, and it is a planet of careful deliberation and constraint. It's a planet of slow, steady, hard work. Mars is a fiery planet. It is the enemy of Saturn. It is the planet of, sometimes ill-considered aggression. It is the planet of anger, can be the planet of resentments. It is, but also the planet of accomplishment. It is our drive, our ambition, our aspiration. So
It's quite a dichotomy.
they're completely opposite and considered to have, a very sort of conservatizing, is that a word, effect when they are conjunct in the natal chart. Saturn-Mars conjunction makes a person who, on the one hand, is quite talented, on the other hand, is a little bit insecure, is very traditional, basically very slow-moving and deliberative, often secretive and shy. It's no combination of planets is ever considered to be all good or all bad. Because all the planets except for the sun and the moon rule 2 houses, and each has its own double side. But now, Saturn and Mars are conjunct.
For everybody.
For everybody. For the world. And this is a time of stress and tension. It is a time of aggression and suppression of aggression, can cause conflict in the world in many ways, can be very, very difficult for world leaders during this period. And something very unusual is happening starting today. And that is that both Saturn and Mars go retrograde. From the position of the Earth, it appears as if they are moving backwards in the sky.
While they are conjunct.
Now, Saturn in Scorpio is extremely weak and retrograde is even weaker. All of its negative qualities come out. Mars in its own house retrograde is also considered to be extremely the same. And this makes a period which is totally volatile and in which, anything can happen. One thing we saw just in the last couple of days, or the last week, which I attribute to the Saturn-Mars conjunction, is a burst of earthquakes all across the Pacific, from Burma, Myanmar, all the way to Japan, and some major earthquakes in Japan. But there's a whole big burst, and if you look at the list, across Asia there were many this week. And I think the likelihood of a big earthquake happening, really a very, very destructive earthquake happening, any place from Afghanistan through Japan, especially in China, is big, very big.
So it's a time, I was just going to ask, are there things that you can point to that let you know if it's manifesting more through the Earth or through people?
So it manifests
Both.
both, always. And the impact that this circumstance has on our individual lives, it is extremely rare that Saturn and Mars are going to spend 211 days in the same house.
Oh, wow, that's a long time.
Extremely rare. And during this period, Mars is going to be retrograde almost twice as long as usual. Mars's retrogression is usually about 6 weeks, and I think it's going to be almost 11 weeks that Mars is retrograde this time.
Wow.
So that is going to bring up sudden and unexpected disputes, big misunderstandings, unexpected, unanticipatable, actually, conflicts that really require a restrained and considerate approach
So,
for all of us. And it depends on, like you and I both have the same rising sign.
Mhm.
Our rising sign is Capricorn. For us, this brings stresses in our friendships. It brings both the opportunity for big and sudden gains and the opportunity for big and sudden losses. And overall for Capricorn rising, because Saturn is aspecting Capricorn, this is positive.
okay.
Okay? But for instance, if your rising sign ruler is Aries, which is ruled by Mars, and Mars is retrograde in the 8th house with Saturn, then you have to be really especially careful while driving your car, while doing anything. Accidents can happen, and big accidents. So life-changing accidents. And so during this time, it's especially, important that you consider not ever lifting anything heavy.
Aries.
That if you have to remember very thoughtfully how to bend your knees and use your legs, not bend over from your waist to pick something up. You have to be especially careful of your eyesight. You have to, pay attention to any small cold could turn into a big flu or pneumonia. You have to be careful like that. The next thing is that,
And you're talking about Aries.
just Aries,
And-
but my point being this, you, for each person, the circumstance is different. For Aries rising, Mars and Saturn conjunct in the 8th house is not very positive.
I want to clarify for some people, or have you clarify, because I think a lot of people identify with their signs in a Western way.
We're talking apples and oranges.
Yeah.
And also, for instance, for Aries, Mars in retrograde, in direct and retrogression, is aspecting their 3rd house, which is communication. Sudden arguments and disputes can come. So you have to be extremely soft, cool-headed. You have to not be reactionary during this period of time. Stay completely relaxed, and whatever happens, just chalk it up to the stars and leave it for a couple of months to be dealt with. Let it simmer. We don't have to react to everything that happens in our program immediately. Also during this time,
I was going to ask about the other planets you mentioned.
Venus and Mercury also both go retrograde. Venus retrograde in Pisces. Its exaltation sign is Pisces. Venus retrograde in that sign is especially weak, especially debilitated, not good at all, and brings, problems in intimate relationships. It brings problems. It brings misunderstandings. Communication is complicated. So
So we have multiple planets, and again,
Mercury is also communication. Mercury retrograde, and Mercury and Mars are enemy planets, and retrograde in mutual aspect is weird. So here's the thing. It's really, first of all, any bad thing can happen in the world. You know, this is the time when, I think the last time this particular number of planets were all retrograde at the same time was about 75 years ago.
what happened then?
You know, World War II.
Oh. You know,
I think that was the period when, I believe that was the period when the Normandy invasion happened.
so I think people who really invest in and understand Vedic astrology are going to resonate with this and potentially get pretty scared.
I don't think, you know, what is the point of being scared? We have to pass through this. And so the only thing to be considered is that, first of all, don't get caught up in the drama of the world. Whatever happens, it's going to happen. We can't stop it. So leave it. It'll be interesting to see, not, you know, and maybe worrisome, but not serious.
Not Normandy level, World War II level,
It could be.
and that's not serious?
Well, I suppose if you are living in a major city where that might be the target of a Russian or terrorist nuclear attack, that could be serious. Or if you were, you know, 22 and in the armed forces, that could also be serious.
So I guess that's my point. I mean, I know you're not saying something of that level is happening, but I hear you saying that this is a time where something of that level could happen.
You know, it is a time when something really off the wall could happen.
And
The next 2 months, you know, are going to be, well, this is, in fact, according to the Chinese, the year of the monkey, which is a year in which there are, you know, big swings and extremes. I wouldn't be surprised also if, like, the stock market collapsed. This would be, I mean, the financial markets are looking pretty sketchy anyway these days, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they had a big sudden drop off some strange news and then spike up back again a little later. So it'll be all over the map, and you have to be nimble about this stuff. But the important part of being nimble is you have to be well considered. And if you have allowed yourself to get locked into a conflict, then nimble is not what you are. You know, so now is the time to quietly take in our environment, hold our energy within ourselves, and gather our strength through this next 2 months, so that as the planets all begin one by one to go direct, and I think, you know, Venus is retrograde about a month, Mercury's retrograde about 3 weeks, so they won't be very long. Jupiter goes direct in late May, or mid to late May, I think something like May 17th. So between now and the next month is really the time when it will be the most heated.
mid-April to mid-May.
Right. Then it will start to release. Saturn doesn't go direct until mid-August, but Mars will leave, at about that time Mars will leave Scorpio, and things will start to sort themselves out. But Mars going into Sagittarius, and later on Saturn following within about 9 months, means that next year and the year after is a time when the U.S. especially could be in some major conflict.
It sounds like a long time of negative potentials.
Oh,
I'm feeling-
negative is again, you know, let's not take that path and say negative. this is a time when there's going to be a lot of worldly drama.
Okay.
A lot of worldly drama. There are a few things to think about. You know, we in the Northwest are concerned about earthquakes, and so it's a good time to, like, you know, at least think of one thing you will really need if there is an earthquake and go get it. If you can't, like, make yourself perfectly prepared, think of one thing you need and go get it to make yourself a little more prepared. You know, simple things, simple forethought will alleviate so much distress. And I don't think of this period, or actually any worldly period, as negative for us, because we're in this world to grow. We're not in this world to make money so much, and thank God for that, because we'd have been screwed if we were. We are in this world to learn. We are in this world to serve. We are in this world to grow love. So,
What an opportunity we have.
I know, it's true.
It is. I mean, it's harder to love when our relationships are constrained, so it's more important to love.
It's more important to love. And I don't, for those of us who are practiced, this will be just another period. You know, for people who are just beginning, or who are in remote places, you know, and not close to the community, who sort of have their own circumstances and dramas to deal with, this is a time to be detached from drama and focused on what's really important to you. And I can just encapsulate that in 3 words. What's really important to you is contact, alignment, and flow. You know, it is so important to actually make contact with the love in our hearts and connect from that love to the people whom we love in our lives, so that they are aware that we love them. Irrespective of the tensions between us, you know, there's tension between everybody, so what? You know, most people get tangled up in those tensions and forget about love altogether and become lost because of it. We are committed to loving and growing, and during this period, for those of us who are able to practice during this period, retrograde planets means energy. The planet's backing up. It's gathering strength to move forward. So, you know, after an extension, it's always natural to have a withdrawal. You know, and reorganize to extend again.
So literally, if we go with the flow of the planet and also sort of back up, gather, hold, not disperse and run around like crazy, then when the whole system moves forward, our flow.
Think of it as, you know, everything is coming into itself to become reorganized, and then it will express some new.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's positive if you are not tangled up in any drama. But if you get yourself caught up in the drama and the tensions and the he said, she said, and who did what and when, you know, you just piss away your energy and the opportunity that you have to make a big shift within yourself during this period.
Depending on different people's rising signs, and many people maybe don't know their Vedic rising signs, is there a benefit to people who are interested in this learning more about their individual experiences through this time, or?
If they want, you know, let's see. There are, an increasing number of competent Vedic astrologers in the United States. My own advice to you is, you know, the person I learned Vedic astrology from is Chakrapani Yuval. And he's extremely competent person. But Chakrapani is now elderly, he's senior, and I don't know how active he is. But there are some other very good astrologers around, and you could consult anyone if you felt like it, and that's never a bad thing. But you know, you have to understand that perhaps the essential thing in our lives is to always keep a positive attitude.
Nice. Well, on that note, we're going to have another discussion, hopefully kind of around attitude, coming up on an episode from News from the Heart. But I think contemplating the fact that everything's connected, the fact that the planets and our planet have a relationship and it affects our experiences. For some people seems like a far stretch, but I think if even the most logical, science-minded person thought about it, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so, good luck the next few months. Stay safe, have fun. Isn't that how you ended meditation
That's
last
it.
night?
Play hard, be safe.
Play hard, be safe, and we'll see you on another episode of News from the Heart.